Good evening, everyone. It is the Garlic Bread Warlord, Nick Leafy. It is soccer over there. I am joined by a couple of distinguished gentlemen.
Where?
Well, I'm just saying, John. I have a couple of distinguished gentlemen here. I have the mouth of the South, John W. Nelson. How are you? You doing all right?
Book it.
Yeah? All right. And we have the Godfather himself, Mr. Jason Longshore.
Yo.
How are you, sir? Yeah. Yo, that's good. Guys, we have the new most unpopular segment in podcast history.
Man, it is becoming a segment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Mondays with Racism. And this is where we take our weekly dive into Serie and talk about the latest level of buffoonery, which involves our boy Mario Balotelli, who, look, this was a concern of mine from the minute he went back to Italy. From the minute he went back to Italy, this is something where it was... I knew why he made the move. He wanted to be closer to home. He wanted to be closer to family. But at the same time, we knew that this was going to be a problem because the idiots will use any chance they can to try to break you up and get you out of a game, which includes monkey chants and everything else. Guys, Hellas Verona, for those who don't know, is a legendary ultra group because it has extraordinarily strong neo-Nazi ties. And we were on our pre-show DM, we're talking about some of the responses from the leader of the Ultras, which essentially was saying, like, so what? So what if we call him this particular name? Who cares? Like, what's the big deal? Like, we have, an N-word who plays on our team. And we cheer for him, so why are we wrong? And then we just don't know why. Like, what's the big issue here? I think it's safe to say that Serie A is not going to do anything about this. It's if we're talking about it strictly from a journalism standpoint, it appears on all levels that they're going to put out some social media campaign. The president of Hellas Verona said, yeah, this may have happened. We don't think it happened. It may have been like 8-9 guys who did it. It's no big deal. Like, this is not representative of our fan base in totality. But it just, guys, it's still happening. And there's nothing being done. It looks like Fiorentina has actually stepped up and started saying, hey, we're going to throw people out. Roma has said they're going to throw people out. But even Roma's not lily white in this thing because Roma had their own issues this past weekend, which we'll get into momentarily.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what's left to be said about this crap?
Let's take it a step back. I think a lot of people, and we've talked about it every time this comes up because I see the responses. I saw one this time like, well, you need to hold ESPN accountable for putting this racist garbage on the air. If ESPN's not there, it's not going to go away. Like, I'm totally against that side of it. But let's go a step further and try to understand it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you have a couple clubs that have come out very strongly about it. Roma was one initially who came out very strongly publicly about this, and the league cracked back and was like, whoa, where are your members for the focus group that we're creating, and blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
So you had the league basically like trying to push back as much as possible. You have certain clubs who are saying, oh, no, you didn't hear that. That didn't happen, except we did hear it, and it did happen.
That's right.
Let's go one step further to what happened with Napoli this weekend, because I think this is an important part of it where it's not even cut and dried, just strictly race. There are other things that tie into it that make it even more confusing, and maybe that's why some people try to justify it. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Right. So essentially, we talked about this in the infant days of soccer over there. And if you notice, if you watch the game between Roma and Napoli, it was suspended due to abusive chanting, not racist chanting, abusive chanting, and the people of Naples were being insulted. And now that's a big deal in Italy. Mm-hmm. And you may be shaking your head right now saying, okay, well, why is this a problem? And the racist chanting is not a problem. Well, keep in mind that Italy itself, we talk about Roman history and we talk about Florence being the birthplace of the Renaissance, and and Venice is this beautiful canal city, but when you go back, Italy itself as a republic is like 1945, 46, and when World War II ended, Gianni Agnelli, who was the heir apparent of the Fiat, essentially the Fiat Corporation, but it was the most powerful corporation in Italy. He fought for the Italians, like with the Axis powers against the Allies. So when the U.S. occupied Italy, you keep in mind that to the east you have the Adriatic, and beyond that is Romania and Eastern Europe, which was completely occupied by the Soviet Union. And so you guys weren't thinking that you were going to get like a whole history lesson on
bring it. It's what people like to know about this stuff.
And so Gianni Agnelli sits down with the Americans and he says, look, if you guys walk away from this, the Soviet Union will come in and will take over. And now Agnelli had a personal stake in this because he knew that if the Russians came in, he would lose fiat.
Right.
And obviously there's, the way of life of Italy fundamentally changes. And so the Americans understood this and invested, but they only invested in the north. And so they had factories, like Fiat factories that popped up like mushrooms all over northern Italy. And so you had mom and dad who would go to work in the Fiat factory. The child would be educated at the Fiat school. If you went to the doctor, you went to Fiat doctor. Everything lived and died by Fiat. Now, in the north, you had this renaissance of industry that was taking place thanks to American dollars. The Agnelli's love of American culture in general. Johnny's dad came to America and watched what Henry Ford was doing with the American car companies and said, we have to do this, we have to change it, we have to emulate it. And so there was this strong tie between the Agnelli family and the American ideal of what capitalism could be. So the downside of this was that south of Rome, none of this was taking place. So where you had people driving Fiats and Ferraris in the north, you had people with donkeys and carts in the south. And when we talk about how Italy unified, that wasn't unified. They were a republic in 1946, but they unified like in the 1800s. Before that, you were Florentine, you were Milanese, you were Sicilian.
Very regional.
Yeah, like down to the city-states. Right. So it was the city-states. And if you were Sicilian, you were viewed as being part African. It is what it is. And they had several derogatory sayings, one of which I don't feel comfortable necessarily repeating.
Oh, we got it.
But it involves anything south of Rome. And so the people of northern Italy believed that they were of more pure Italian blood. There was more influence from the south of different cultures and different races. And they started to view the southern Italians as day laborers at best.
Right.
And Sicilians, criminals, top to bottom. And if you have HBO Go, you can watch the Agnelli documentary where the Fiat Corporation got into some trouble and oversight was brought in, and one of the guys was a Sicilian banker. And even today, it wasn't like this documentary was made in the 60s and 70s. This is today. They still had people who were associated with Fiat during that time period who said, yeah, the CFO was Sicilian, so he just kind of made money up here. And this goes like my ex-wife and I were in Rome, and obviously you can't help but look American when you go over there. I mean, just the style, the dress, the way you carry yourself is totally different. And they said, oh, well, what brings you guys here? And my ex-wife was talking. She said, oh, yeah, I've never been to Italy before. My husband's been here, and he's Sicilian. Well, the person goes, oh, yes, thank you very much, and ventured to the back, and then two more employees came out. And she's like, well, what was that about? Like, what did I say? And I said, yeah, you told them I was Sicilian, and essentially, in their viewpoint, I was there to rob the store blind. And so, yeah, and this was like, 2008 maybe?
Yeah.
So there is still this fundamental divide in the country from an economic standpoint, education standpoint, to where if you commit a crime and you're Sicilian, they had a Sicilian man who killed his wife, and in the paper, like a nationally renowned paper, journalistic integrity, all that fun business, they said, yes, it happened because of the Sicilians' hot blood. And then there were questions as to why this good Northern Italian girl would marry a Sicilian man.
So that's why you have, if you've seen the Maradona documentary, the Napoli game at Juventus, and they show you what was being said about Napoli, about the Napoli fans. Mm-hmm. That's why that happened in the 80s. That's why you had this happen this weekend with Roma and Napoli.
Right.
So that combined with what happened with Balotelli, you had Roma fans. Wasn't it with a youth game here recently where there was racist chanting?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running them all together because there's been so many. Because it seems like every weekend there's something. But
there's something. It all
you're
runs together.
Getting all kinds of discrimination, and you want to take it past racist discrimination here. It's discrimination on all fronts.
Right.
That is common and accepted and part of daily life and part of the way anything is talked about. I mean, when you're talking about a media story, like going into that as a headline, that's what you're fighting up against.
Right.
That's why this isn't something that you can just say, oh, well, I'm just going to stop watching the league and I give up.
Right. And it
takes time to change.
It's because even if you and we talked about this a little pre-show, John, about how I was trying to say this without it being controversial.
Right.
But if you're in Italy, the way the population breakdown happens, it's not nearly the same ratio of black to white as it is here in America.
Right.
And so for them in Italy, the territorial divide is more of an immediate concern over the issue between black and white. And when I spoke to my cousin about this issue, he talked about how he lives in Sicily, and he would talk about they were at the beach, and here comes a boat, like up on the shore. Migrants jump out, cops go chasing, and the boat's just there, and they're all like, okay, I guess we're just still swimming in the water, like whatever. And it's a huge deal over there. And so there's issues. It's all this ancient stuff is flaring up more now because of the migrant issue. So you have a nationalist movement that's taking place. You have issues where white nationalism is working its way, especially into the ultra groups. And we've talked about this as well, about how it's becoming almost a new sort of mafioso, where they are attracting the youth of Italy with this nationalist ideology. They are purchasing weapons. They're moving weapons. They're getting busted, obviously. And we saw not too long ago reports of one group that had an air-to-air missile. You have these old issues that are showing up again, and everything old is new, and it's the same thing that's taking place now. So when we talk about removing and eradicating racism, we can't just say eradicating the black versus white. Of course, that has to happen. We have to get rid of that. I don't want anyone to take away that I'm saying, well, let's focus on one or the other.
But this is a multi-dimensional
exactly.
issue that you have to have each lane of traffic
yes.
in your thought pattern as to what needs to be attacked.
Right.
But the bottom line is that you have to move all the traffic forward as one
Correct.
group of a traffic jam instead of sitting there saying, okay, the left-hand lane gets to go first, and we'll let the left-hand lane go off the exit ramp, and then we'll let the right-hand lane go. This isn't one lane is closed and everybody's merging. This is two lanes of traffic that you have to deal with simultaneously when talking about soccer.
But that's also why you get the match stopped with Roma and Napoli by the referee.
Yes.
And Mario Balotelli had to walk off on his own.
Right.
Yeah, and get a yellow card for booting the ball. He booted the ball into the stands.
And that match was not stopped.
That match was not stopped. And the yellow card was rescinded, but they had the announcement of you had to stop the chanting. But we saw one of these and this is from the interview with the ultra from the Hellas Verona. He said Balotelli's an Italian because he has an Italian citizenship, but he will never be able to be fully Italian. Verona's fans racist. We have a expletive in our team who scored yesterday. All of Verona applauded him. What's the problem with the word expletive? And so this is something, we talked about it before with when Mike Piazza bought the Reggiana and how he thought that he was going to be welcome and accepted And it wasn't the case, because what it means to be Italian it's very specific. You have to be born in Italy to Italian parents, raised in Italy, taught the language, drinking Italian tap water, and there's no deviating from this. Like, I qualify for dual citizenship. If I go there with a passport in hand, I will never be Italian to them.
Right.
Here I could speak Italian, I could have an accent, I could have all of it. But in their mind, I will be Nick the American, and my children.
You'd be a carpetbagger, basically.
Yes, I would. And then my kids would forever be Americans. It wouldn't be till like 3 or 4 generations, and even then, their great-grandkids would be like, oh, yeah, your family came from America, right? Isn't that how that worked out? Because you have people who said, my great-great-grandfather carved stone that went into this Duomo in Florence, and we built this church here in like 1463. The legacies go back so far, and the ties to the cities are so deep that the only thing that really shifted any of this was post-World War II, when you had the economic boom of the North. And then you saw families going even up into recently this migration from the South to the North. And Sebastian Giovinco is a prime example of this. Sebastian Giovinco's Sicilian, but his family moved to Turin for economic opportunities. So what you see here in the United States, where you have people from Central and South America coming up here to try, migrating up to try to find economic opportunity, you have this going on within one country.
Right.
And there's discrimination taking place even within the country. Like it's like somebody from Florida moving up to New York, and then oh wait, sorry, yeah, no, Mr. Florida man, you're an idiot. There's no reason for you to be here. We're going to chant you out of the building, and so. That's why it's more dangerous to the Italians than the black and white thing. And I think that's probably why the Federation is not moving on it nearly as quickly as with this.
Right.
It's more hashtags and more marketing statements. And also notice, Roma, who dealt with the black and white issue immediately, not so much this.
Right.
Then you have Fiorentina. You have Milan, who they're starting to kind of get the wheels moving. The one thing in common with all of them, they're all owned by Americans, right? They're all owned by people who get what it means, that marketing dollar. They understand that the money needs to come in from outside Serie A. Otherwise, your league is no bigger than the Eredivisie. If you count out American money and they say they're not going to come here and go to these games because they don't feel safe, or they don't want to be a part of the racism, or they don't want to watch our games, that's money leaving our pockets. So we have to address it.
Right.
And so I think that's also why you're not going to see too much traction. Napoli gets it, I think, to an extent, which is why they rallied around Koulibaly as well as they have. Ancelotti said, Carlo Ancelotti came out, and I love that man dearly. He said, yeah, none of the other players should have talked Balotelli out of leaving. Like, all of Brescia should have walked off the field.
Right.
And so, to me, that was one of the things that really worked me up about that, is when players from both teams come over and try to talk him out of leaving the pitch. Yeah. I think that right there is the problem in a nutshell. Is you have people who are more concerned with the status quo than trying to allow this man to make his statement, keep his head held high, and say, okay, great, if you want to do this kind of behavior at a game, I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm walking out. And you have to factor in as well the ultras on this. These are not like ultras that you see really anywhere in the Premier League. I say Millwall maybe. Millwall in the championship. Millwall might be your exception on this. But there was a situation with Rome, and I'm trying to remember the specific game, where there were issues and they wanted to stop the match, and Totti walked over to the ref and said, if you stop this match, someone's going to die. Like, you can't stop this match. Because there were rumors that were circulating in the Curva that I want to say it was a Lazio fan had been stabbed. And so they were going to stop the match over this. And Totti said, if you stop this match, someone's going to die. They're going to come after us. They will come on the field and they will attack us. And the ref was like, okay, keep playing. And so you have to factor in that Italy's going to have to do what the Premier League did years ago in dealing with hooliganism. They're going to have to update and modernize the stadiums. They're going to have to stop matches on a dime for any issue. Black, white, territory issues, doesn't matter. You're going to have to do something. And when you start adding up the dollar amounts to all of these, it's a significant cost investment. You have stadium, in Napoli where you're trying to get those games going on, and it's ancient. It's old. It's decrepit.
Yeah, it looks just like it did in the Maradona documentary.
Exactly.
It hasn't changed.
It has not changed at all. And it's owned by the city. And so, they're trying to get renovations done on it. They're trying to get, and you're talking about, why don't they just install a VAR system for fans? You're talking about a stadium that's like 60, 70 years old, and you're talking about trying to install cameras on there when they can't even get base renovations done? The fiscal investment is something that's going to have to factor in on this, and Italy's not ready for that, and they should be, but it's a multi-dimensional issue that's going to require a ton of work. And I am, as the person who has evangelized Serie A as much as I have, there's no one, I think, on this show who feels a bigger fool than me, because I've tried to convince everyone out there listening right now, tune into Serie A, give it a chance, give it an opportunity. One person who, because he reached out to me through DM, I don't want to give his name at the moment. If he wants to come forward, by all means. But he asked me, he said, hey, look, man, I'm going to Italy and, coming up soon, and, what do you think? Because of this racism issue, should I go to a game? And it made me pause. I'm like, do I give this person, like what do I say? Because if I say, yes, go to the game, get the experience, then am I giving in to this? Okay, it's cool, fund racism. But at the same time, do I tell this guy, curb your experience and don't be a part of it? So I told him, I said, look, if you go, understand what you're getting into and understand what you may see and what you may hear. And if you go and you feel that you have an experience that concerns you, that you want to talk about, come on the show and talk about it. And tell everyone here listening so other people can make an educated choice. It's very difficult, though, to tell people.
Something you said sticks with me, and I think it's the reason why we have to keep talking about it. It's not going to change without eyeballs on it. It's not going to change without pressure, because what ultimately will make it change, I think, is twofold. It is that loss of money, loss of revenue, because you have clubs that literally just can't afford to do that. So that's part of it. And also the investment in the game, the international investment that doesn't look at it the same way, that has a different opinion about the whole thing, and they're not going to put up for it if there is pressure and there is a loss of revenue. Like it has to be talked about. It has to be pointed out every single time if it's going to change. It's not going to change overnight. I mean, it is in a lot of ways like the P word chant in Mexico. There is a cultural element that is baked into it that people are going to fight changing it, and they're going to fight, and they're going to fight, and they're going to fight. And it's going to have to take time and pressure and consistency in pushing back on it to get it to the point. Look how long it took there for the league and the federation to say, okay, we're done with this, no more. Because of fine after fine after fine after fine and threat of being kicked out of competitions and all of the different things. And now you get halftime commercials on matches. No, we don't stand for this. No, don't do it. And it still happens. It happens less.
Yeah.
It's happening generally late in a game when one side is angry and they're doing it out of anger. But it's still an issue, even if a lesser issue. That's the process you got to go through in Italy. Is we've got to keep talking about it and pushing, or it's not going to go away.
Right, and obviously for me, the number one thing is the economic factor, especially when you're dealing with TV contracts and marketing deals. And Nick, to your point, where you have these American owners who understand the marketing dollar and what it means in this current sports idiom, where it just so happens that one of the franchises that's very popular in the league is a publicly traded company.
Yes.
And I think that adds another added dynamic to all of this when it comes to dealing with the economy of the issue, because you're now impacted on a stock exchange when it comes to your revenue. And if you sit there and anything negative is associated with you on the pitch or off the pitch, somebody yells something happens in a physical sense having to do with not an athlete but a supporter, then your stock goes down. And when you have that kind of realism attached to it, I mean, that I think is the economy for me is the wake-up call in all of this.
Right. And when we talk about how Juve is a publicly traded company, the Agnellis have made moves that have not thrilled all Italians. Like, they're moving factories from Italy to, like, Poland, you know? So they're moving companies, they're moving brick and mortars out, and Italian jobs out of Italy and moving them elsewhere. And when you have the Elkann family, when you talk about John Elkann and the group that runs Exor, which is the overall parent company of all these subsidiaries, Juve is essentially a subsidiary of this company. They're a child account of this company. And they are very sensitive to the issues of racism and how that will be viewed. But on the ground, the Agnelli, who does still operate as the face of Juve, he has to deal with this stuff. And he has to deal with the ultras, and he has to broker backroom deals with the ultras when it comes to ticket resales and security outside of the stadium. And at the same time, when Exor finds out about a specific issue with an ultra group, they'll boot all of them out. And then they'll bring in, children to fill the seats instead. So it looks good to the stockholders. Here's what we did to deal with this particular issue. But again, and to Jason's point, if you want to see that how this all works, go watch the Maradona documentary on HBO, because they're talking about Napoli, and they say, you die of, we hope Vesuvius kills you all in fire.
Wash them with fire, wash them with fire.
Yeah, wash them with fire, wash them with fire. Cholera, you should all die of cholera. Wash yourselves. And that is essentially, if you want to see in a nutshell, the type of chants that are being directed towards Southern Italians, that's it. And that is why when you see me on the streets and you talk to me, and any sort of thing about my heritage comes up, I mention specifically I am Sicilian, because it is a point of pride. And it's something that, I don't care. When I go to Italy, I say it as well. And if they give me sideways looks, they give me sideways looks. And if they want to call extra security out from the back, they can. But it's for me, it's something where there are so many issues right now that are taking place in Italy, where they are fighting the nationalism, where they are fighting, the economic issues and issues with migrants. It's okay to be proud of who you are and your background. Like, I have people in my own family who don't like the fact that Alifi is of Arabic origin, and I love it. I think it's if you go to Sicily, you see beautiful Arabic influenced architecture, the food, Arabic influence. It provides a wonderful spice to our lives personally that is irreplaceable to me. That is priceless. And if it means you get wrapped in with a certain tropes that get dropped by Northern Italians, that's their business. Whatever. But
right.
It's okay to be proud of who you are without being part of the problem. And I think that's one thing that these teams have to figure out, these hooligans have to figure out, these ultras have to figure out. Be proud of you and your team without being part of the problem. I don't know what else to say about this.
It'll come up again, and it will keep coming up, and we will keep trying to point out the details in it, because it's one thing to just throw your hands up and say you're not going to watch anymore, and throw your hands up and say, like, ban them and fine them. There are reasons why it is going on, and I hope that you kind of have a little bit better understanding of how difficult it is to deal with right now, and also how difficult it is to change it.
Gustavo has joined in.
What's up, Gustavo? Gustavo, we are watching Defensa y Justicia and Argentinos Juniors right now at the Brewhouse Cafe in Atlanta.
That is correct.
Defensa cannot find a goal to save their lives.
Come on, Defensa.
Nope. And Gustavo says, superb interpretation by Ethnic Alifi. Racism is a nationalist excuse, but Italians don't have hooliganism. Hooligans are violent groups with no political background. Mm-hmm. Ultras are more like Barra Bravas, an armed force of political parties, in this case, neo-fascist movements.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Nailed it. And it's true. And I have another working theory that I hope to be putting pen to paper to not too terribly long after I return from my trip to the motherland. But Gustavo nailed it in the fact that these are groups that are power brokers within the Italian soccer community, where if you are a team president, you have to do business with the ultras. It's almost like doing business with the mafia. And when we talk about the roots of the mafia and how it developed and how it gained roots, especially through Italy, it comes because of that divide that existed, that socioeconomic divide. When you had a lack of infrastructure, no police force was coming to help you, so people stepped up, and unfortunately it was the people who had the guns, and the people with the guns demanded payment, and one thing leads to another, and before you know it, people figure out how to make money off of that. And it's the same thing with the ultras. The ultras will exchange with the team presidents the curva for an outside protection meaning that the small petty crimes will be kept to a minimum, in order for them to receive group tickets at a maximized discount for them to resell at an insane profit, which will then go to fund other aspects of their operation.
Like missiles.
Like essentially air-to-air missiles, which they will purchase from, France. And so it's something where Gustavo nailed it in the fact that it is an armed force for political parties. It is an armed force for criminals to line their coffers with cash. And as long as we don't address that fundamental issue, it's going to keep happening.
That's why you could deal with hooliganism a lot more easily, because it wasn't as deeply rooted. It had different origins.
Yes, and that is something that, as a country, Italy has to address. If you go to Rome, if you're in Rome and you're walking around, you're like, oh, this is a wonderful museum right here. Oh, look at this wonderful structure. Is that an obelisk I see? Oh, is that a communist party parade that I see walking through the streets of Rome? And what's happening is more and more these fringe groups are stepping up and stepping out because they feel empowered to do so. Why they feel empowered to do so, I'm going to leave to others to interpret. But it's happening. And they need new blood on a regular basis. And so they find the young and the angry, and they find the young and the angry, and they give them purpose within that organization. And when they give them purpose within the organization, wrapped around typically the scarf or the love of a team, and say, hey, it's for this scarf, this team, that we're doing this. Yes, that's right. And by the time they start making money, the love for the team sort of fades, and that love of cash just builds even more. Yeah, it's a front, but it's a great recruiting tool.
Yeah,
and so using Calcio as the recruiting tool, they'll trot out excuses. They'll say, well, it's these young angry kids, and we really can't do anything about it, because how do we know they're not how do we not know they're from Hellas Verona? How do we not know
how do we know they're not just lashing out because they're teenagers?
That's right.
Teenagers do that.
Yeah, kids will be kids, and that they're kids. Yeah, kids are kids until they start purchasing air-to-air missiles and automatic weapons.
That kind of kicks it up a notch.
It does kick it up a notch, and so maybe they do need to figure out how some of these other countries have dealt with more of the Barra Brava types, where they say, okay, how do we, keep these flare-ups to a minimum? That's going to be a larger conversation, but it's something that has to happen. And there's the conspiracy theories then pop up and say, well, how do we know this is not an interista who's worked his way over to the Curva Sud and from
that's
the Curva
not
Nord?
happening.
No, it's not happening.
No,
it's
that's
idiotic.
not happening.
There's no way that an Inter fan is going to dress up in Milan colors, go to the Curva Sud, and then start doing racist chanting. I mean, if you don't value your health and safety, by all means do that. But these guys know each other. These ultras know each other. They know that,
Yeah, you're not getting in by accident.
Right.
You're not sneaking your way in.
No, it's part of we can sit there and watch commercials for these leagues where you see the flares and the giant tifos and be like, wow, these ultras, oh my God, and we can romanticize it all day long. But understand, behind that, there are dark forces at work, and part of those dark forces are currently what you're seeing and manifesting itself in Serie A, and why they're not dealing with it. So we've covered sort of the origins of the territorial divides from the city-state days of Italy. And seriously, go back and read any book on the Renaissance when they had the War of the Davids, right, where every city had to have a statue of David. And each one had to be bigger and better than the rest until finally Michelangelo in Florence said, let me go ahead and do the maximum mic drop here on David statues. But every city that wanted to prove its artistic merit to the world had to have a David statue. And the Donatello's David statue was very subpar, by the way. I'll just throw that out there from an artistic point of view.
Fair enough.
It was very weak and very
Welcome
small.
to Architectural Digest.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the Florentine David is the far superior model. I'm just going to go ahead and toss that out there for all of you art fans. And at me on that one if you have any concerns or questions.
All right. Do you want to jump to another country?
Can we please jump to another country?
Yeah, I thought you were pretty much ready.
Because Italy out. That's it.
Okay. We've had a request. I walked in the door today,
Okay.
and Saqib corners me immediately and says, can we say something good about Liverpool? They won again. Can we say something good about Liverpool? So, Saqib, please say something good about Liverpool.
That's not quite.
That's how I remember it. I'm just saying.
What I had said was, what's the real practical difference between City pulling out a late winner in the 85th or 6th minute and Liverpool putting out a stoppage time winner? You know, both 2-1 against teams that we should have, beat handily. City is heralded as, by everyone, as a team with grit and this and that, and they, they're winners and this and that. And Liverpool are, quote unquote, lucky. I think that's unless you're a Liverpool supporter, 99% of people are like, oh, they're so lucky. I mean, it's not luck; it's skill. We put in a great corner. We have the fullback with the most assists in the league, so he's going to put in a good ball every now and again. And then we have Sadio Mane, who's one of the best players in the world. Yeah, he's going to find a way to score every now and again. Why can't it just be we're good instead of we're lucky? Whereas with City, they're just good, and the luck never comes into play. It's a little irksome. And Jason, one more thing. Jason said that all the Liverpool supporters have a bit of a complex. And honestly, it's true.
Jason, did you say this?
I did.
It's totally
It's
true.
gotten over these last couple of years. It's been really interesting because it felt like at first it was everybody, and take your allegiance if you have a Premier League team out. It felt like generally everybody was hoping Liverpool would win a title for the first time. It's like, okay, if your team's not in it, you're hoping Liverpool wins it. That's seemed to have shifted in the last year and a half or so.
It definitely has seemed that way since the neutral perspective. Last season, everyone was like, oh, man, this is going to be, universally every neutral, besides the United and City supporters were kind of on board. They'd love to have seen Liverpool, win the league.
It felt like towards the end of last season, though, that turned.
It did.
And I don't know what the
just
turning point was.
Probably the fact that we won our 6th Champions League. Something.
No, it was before that because we talked about it as we were doing some soccer over there stuff. We started noticing it and like, wow, it seems like everybody is against Liverpool now.
It's probably because we broke Messi. You can't. I know. I understand.
Maybe that's why.
I think there is a marketing effort by Man City to show that they are not just rich and fancy. Because that's the whole thing. It's a Pep Guardiola team, and it's finesse, and it's
not rock and roll soccer.
Yeah, it's not heavy metal soccer. It's this finesse.
It's for the gram.
Backed by extraordinary wealth. So you can't be pretty and rich at the same time because you're hated, right?
Well, I think a lot of the hate against City, the oil money and all these different things that people bring up, even as a Liverpool supporter, it is getting tired because the product on the field is sublime at times. I mean, the way Manchester City play, the way they interlink and the way Pep coaches that team is breathtaking at times. So I think that sheer beauty of football is kind of overshadowing all these sort of undertones, which there's a discussion to be had about all that. But when the product is so good, I guess you can kind of get away with that in the public eye and just be appreciated for doing what you do.
Well, look, if you're Man City right now, you can try to put yourself in this position as the scrappy underdog, and you're going to win over your Instagram influencers, and that's about it. That's about it. I don't think anybody else in the world believes that Man City is this gritty underdog. There's no way there was.
No.
It's Ric Flair as the gritty underdog.
I have an interesting take on that, even as a Liverpool supporter. I think barring 2 years ago where they had their record-setting season and they just took charge and never really let go, every other time they've won the league in the last decade has been coming from behind when they've been up against it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, 10 points they were behind Liverpool Boxing Day last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they finished 1 point ahead. When they beat United all those years ago with the Aguero goal and all that. They do have this underdog mentality, and Pep has definitely seized on that with the crop of players that have been there for a long time with Company, he's now gone, but last season, and Aguero and so on. City do find a way to come back when they're behind.
That's part of a Pep team. I mean, Barca had it, Munich had it. It's the secondary component. I mean, you look at how beautiful the play can be, and that's what sticks with you, but you don't have that if the work isn't there, and you don't play in a Pep team if the work isn't there.
Right. They do have that mentality. It's not over until it's mathematically over. And that's kind of been Pep's thing for as long as he's been a top manager, which is why this weekend I think this is an absolute must-win game for Liverpool. Because if we lose, City's within 3 points. Mm-hmm. We're not going to win on goal difference. Forget that. City's going to blow us out of the water, and everyone out of the water on goal difference. It won't even be close because they're winning by 8-0 and 5-0. And as good as Liverpool is, we're not built to do just that. So if we give them 3 points, which is really when we go to the Etihad and they win, if they win, then they're ahead of us in goal difference, all things being equal. So this is exactly where we were last season, whereas if we give them the bit between the teeth, they're going to take it and run with it. And this weekend, if they find a way to win, it's their league to lose. Even though it's totally even at that point, if we both run the table, meaning we beat the other at the Etihad, that team should win the league. But at the Etihad, they're obviously going to be favored. So it's a must-win for Liverpool this weekend. There's no question.
Do you think that plays into the comments from both managers over the last couple of days? How big this game is on the weekend? Do you think that's why Pep Guardiola...
Pep, look, all top managers play their games in the media.
Pep hasn't as much. He's done it differently,
he's a lot more subtle.
Yeah, this was different for him.
I mean, this was a bit out of character for him to criticize Mane the way he did. Especially, I mean, let's be honest. If you want to talk about diving, we can talk about Aguero and Sterling and so on all day long, as well as Mane and Salah. If you want to go there,
you can talk both. Yeah, neither one's really innocent in this.
I mean, pot kettle, right? That's
exactly.
kind of what it felt like, and it's a clear wind-up. And I think Klopp took the bait because he just responded. He was like, "No, he's not."
Yeah, I think, and he said more than that too. Klopp said a couple different things that were. It was interesting. So, I mean, Pep said when asked about the Liverpool comeback, he said it's no great surprise, quote, because he's a special talent. Sometimes he's diving. Sometimes he has this talent to score incredible goals in the last minute.
Awfully backhanded.
And definitely backhanded, of course. And it's so out of character. It's not something that you normally get out of Pep. Well, Klopp said this about what Guardiola said. I couldn't really believe it, to be honest, and then I saw it. I am not sure if Pep spoke in that moment about Sadio or the team. Both is not too nice, to be honest. I am not too sure if I want to put oil on the fire. I am not interested in these kind of things, and I promise not to mention tactical fouls. That is maybe already too much.
But that is in keeping character with Jurgen Klopp, don't you think?
Yes.
He's on brand as ever.
Right.
Whereas if we're talking about how these pressers and everything before the match go, clearly one person looks a little bit off-key more than the other, and I think that's Pep.
Agreed.
Well, this is what Pep, it claims that it drove him out of La Liga, right? This sort of ticky-tack stuff between managers.
Specifically Mourinho.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
Mourinho.
Specifically with Mourinho. That was... But you were talking about 5 matches in 2 weeks between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... We've talked about Thunderdome. This was Thunderdome times 1,000.
Yeah. But I think as much as we talk about how that era warped Jose Mourinho, I think it left scars on on Pep as well.
100% it did.
So Pep is, where before he would be talking about, a little more tactical nuance and breaking down and be more positive. Yes, it's going to be an exciting, fun game with two great teams. I think now he is a little more prone to issue those cutting remarks and his little backhands here and there, because it's he's not going to get fired. He knows what he has and the quality for the team.
English media will do that to you.
Yeah.
By Pep standards, this is out of character, but by the rest of the league standards, it's still, an average statement. It's nothing over the top, right? Like some other managers say, like Sean Dyche, for example, whenever he gets on his horse.
Right. Yeah, but it's
I'm not a fan of Sean Dyche.
But here's the thing, though, is that with the game this weekend that's coming up, it is the game of the week, right? I mean, find a bigger game than this, let me know. And
this one usually delivers, I will add. Yeah. A lot of games are duds that are supposed to be the game, but this one, for the last several seasons, has delivered.
Styles make fights. I mean, it's a perfect matchup in terms of two different styles that are very different.
So, as I know what the answer is probably going to be, but what is the likelihood? And I say this without cutting jokes. There's no words, forbidden words will be dropped here. Can Liverpool hold on and get 3 points this weekend? Is the weight already becoming too much?
I don't think the weight is too much. The thing that's different about Liverpool this season than last season, I think last season we were genuinely punching above our weight. And a lot of Liverpool supporters might not like to hear me say that, but last season was wishes and hopes and belief and all that, whereas this season it's a much more professional take. We are this good. We should win these games. It's not surprising when we win games late, etc. So I think the mentality is a lot different this year. We're not praying to win the game. We know we can beat them, and we truly believe we're the better team. Given that, with the other facts, with all the injuries that City have, I don't think there's any excuses for Liverpool. I'm a very harsh critic of my own team. I mean, Rodri's out, Laporte's out, David Silva, we just got the news today, I think he's out. There's a couple other people that are out. Zinchenko is out, I believe. Assuming all those are correct, there's no reason Liverpool should lose this game. Granted, City have depth for days, but, I think we have the advantage, especially Anfield, which I think now it's almost factual. It does give us an extra gear.
Is this, I mean, I think you've laid this out, but I want to be clear on it. If Liverpool loses this, can they recover? Are they mentally strong enough to recover and still win the league?
I definitely believe they are mentally strong enough to recover. But if you lose this game, you give control to City.
You lose the edge. Okay, gotcha.
Well, you lose the lead in the race.
Right.
Essentially they'll be neck and neck because either team wins out at this point, wins the league. But that crucial match that will decide it is going to be at the Etihad. So if we lose, I think it dramatically reduces our odds to win the league. I mean, whatever the Vegas odds are now, they're going to be less if we come away with any less than 3 points.
And we'll get into the odds, and we can't use Halloween candy anymore, so we'll have to make up something on the fly. But we'll pull those up in a second because that's important for this game.
Turkey legs, man. It's turkey legs.
We're going to go Thanksgiving sides.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what our
whatever
our
the
gambling apparatus will be.
That's right. There we go. I can't bypass Thanksgiving. That's my favorite holiday. So I can't, because look, you show up somewhere, you're going to eat, and you don't have to buy anyone anything, right?
It's true.
You don't have to buy any gifts for anyone. It's a great holiday. And, you show up, there's typically enough food and booze to, keep you away from troublesome relatives you don't really want to interact with. And,
it's true.
Just have a pretend job ready. That's the key for the Thanksgiving Survival Guide. Have a pretend job ready. Update your LinkedIn to say you're like vice president of some fictional company or whatever.
Yep.
And then you have everything lined up. And a significant other who just can't make it. The significant other just can't make it.
Their family's in Niagara Falls. They've already celebrated Thanksgiving.
That's
and
right.
Just couldn't make it down for the
just
weekend.
Could not make it down. So unfortunate. They're Canadian.
Nathan Pugh says, don't forget there are cultural reasons behind Liverpool feeling, acting, and being judged differently. Scousers versus London, Labour versus
Scousers.
Tory. Scousers, okay. Well, I was thinking Randy Scouse Git from the Monkees tune.
Wow. Okay. That's a random take. Okay. I didn't expect that to happen.
right.
Scousers in London, Labour and Tory.
I don't know a lot of that, honestly. Okay. Got it.
All right,
So,
all right.
so yeah, it is very like
So the workers versus the
different
gentry,
class.
is that what we're...
Looks at the different classes. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I
Do
get
we
down
have the purveyors' comments on this match this weekend?
Efforting.
Okay, we will get that because
shout out
this
to
is very
Defensa
important.
Justicia for getting the draw.
Well, they got the draw, but the XG was probably about 8.5 for Defensa
Hey, look.
Justicia because they had chance after chance after
yeah.
chance, and it was amazing how they were not finding goals. But Argentinos, I mean, you're near the top of the table in Argentina, and it's a good home draw for Defensa.
That is they are the top of the table currently. So.
Well, River and Boca are right there.
They are indeed. I'm just saying.
The draw, does that put them back to top?
I believe so. The Defensa, when you take on the top team in the league, you earn that draw, baby. All right,
Not the
You
way it
earned
played out. No, not the way it played out.
All right, we
Should have scored like 5.
True. True.
All right, so
Oh, going in? Yeah, you would have taken the draw. The draw does put Argentinos back to the top. River and Boca were on top before this result. They were level on points, but ahead on goal differential.
all right, so here we go. Full-time result.
Liverpool, Manchester City this weekend.
Correct.
This is your.
This is as of right now.
This is as of this moment.
this moment in time in this time zone. Full-time result: Liverpool plus 170, Manchester City plus 145. The draw is plus 250.
So they don't know anything.
No.
They don't want to make any kind of statement.
Ain't
basically.
saying nothing about nobody. Not even nobody's mama.
Yeah, I would have to lean draw.
Yeah.
And I'm not real sure of it, so I'm going to go with like the random, not like a good casserole, because you always get the casseroles that come out on
like
Thanksgiving.
the overcooked green bean one.
No, I like green bean casserole.
No, but they'll like sprinkle stuff inside.
No,
of it.
I'm good with all that. I'm not going to put it on that one. It's
I'm
like
not
the
good with that.
weird casserole, like a broccoli casserole or something that you're like, why did you just throw random stuff together and like cream of mushroom soup and some crackers and said it was a casserole? You made it up. Yeah, there's Funyuns on top. You made this up. That's not real. That's not real.
Ew.
So no, I'm taking that casserole and putting it on the draw.
Yeah.
You're taking that casserole? That's
Yes.
a good way.
The vegan ice cream that the really weird relative brings to
No. Vegan ice cream.
The gluten-free
Yeah.
dessert that gets
Yeah, the
brought.
gluten-free dessert.
If you want to put that on, that's fine. I'm talking about the bad casserole that shows up. That like you get
Yeah.
the good casseroles that show
Uh-huh.
up. You get
Yeah.
the sweet potato casserole. You get I like green bean casserole. Okay, cool. But you get the one that you see something on top that looks like Funyuns. That's the casserole I'm putting on the draw.
That's
here.
the one like Aunt Laverne brings in, and
Yes.
you're like, oh,
and
God.
it's every year, and you
Every
know it's
year.
showing up, and
Yep.
you
Yeah.
always hide it as best you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, no way I'm eating this. And then you kind of have to put some of it on your plate because she's looking at you.
Yep.
And then you try to figure out a way to stash it.
Yeah.
You wait till the dog comes around, and you,
Then the
you
dog,
Dog's
drop
not
it.
eating that.
and-
Then the dog tries to eat it, and the dog spits it out and makes a mess on the
There's
floor.
that.
There you go.
That casserole on the draw. That's what I'm taking here.
And looking at other stuff right now, Chelsea minus 300 against Crystal Palace.
That's interesting.
And that's early in the
That's-
week.
oh.
Tottenham minus 163 against Sheffield United.
Well, it depends. If we think they
The
can get the
draw-
red card rescinded,
Draws plus 300 with
On
Sheffield
review.
United. And Chris Wilder in the 3-5-2.
Okay, so the door's been opened. We want to get into the red card and the
Yeah,
whole
go
incident.
yeah, we got to do it.
Yeah, we got.
All right, your take, John.
Yeah, I get the willies just picturing it in my head all over again, and then I saw the pictures after the fact of the ankle.
No, can't do it.
Yep, and that was just a part of it. But no, it's considering all of the emotional evidence of Son and how he is as a player, and looking at it in and around the point where you have to hit the pause button because you know what's happening next, and matching it frame by frame. I've got to say that you got to rescind the red card and give him just get it back to a yellow.
I think it can. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens.
Right.
I would not be shocked at all if that happens.
On review, I watched the game today. I rewatched it, went through, and I made the distinct mistake of rewinding and watching that hit a couple of times.
Can't do it.
I will say I did not see him studs up into the man's leg. What it looked like to me is his son tried to make a tackle from behind, failed, tried again to make the tackle from behind on Gomes, and then there was the Tottenham's player's name escapes me, but he came in from the right. Which one? Aurier. Okay, it came in from the right, and it looked to me that the tackle caused him to lose balance as he was attempting to change direction, and he planted his leg wrong, and that caused the break, not the actual cleat of Son.
This is such a tough one because immediately Son is in tears. I mean, he's inconsolable. He's probably still inconsolable right now.
Right.
And I'm sure everyone's heard this by now, but literally anyone that has anything to say about Son is positive. He is the goodest good boy. You don't hear anyone that has a bad thing to say about him. And this is completely out of his character. If this was a player like Pepe, exact same situation, you might look at it differently. But it's Son, and I think they're going to forgive him for this. Also because the video evidence shows that it's more of a freak accident than it is, studs up, contact on the ankle, all that. That said, it's a very tough decision to rescind the red card for me. And I've gone back and forth on this, so I'm in this side of the camp where he's not playing the ball. He goes in from behind. They're both going to top flight. They're running. It's reckless in a way. I think you can clearly make that case. And it's just a shame the way it all happened because you see that tackle in every game. And 1 out of 1 million times you're going to get the situation that you get over here. I think the red card in the moment was the right decision because it totally diffused anything that could have come up besides everyone just focusing on Andre Gomez's well-being. And Son didn't protest. No one really protested the red card because the moment was bigger than football in that moment. And, so Son went off and I'm sure he didn't know what was going on because, oh, man, I almost feel as much for Son as I do for Gomez. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he knew exactly what happened, and he totally felt responsible for it. I hope he's seen the video and everything, and he's cooled off a little bit on that because it's got to be really heavy to take that on your shoulders and believe you caused a potentially career-ending injury. There was reports after the game that Seamus Coleman from Everton and even I think Marco Silva, both of them went into the Tottenham locker room and put their arms around Son and really tried to make him feel like, look, that's not your fault.
Everton did put out an update that Gomez is expected to make a full recovery after a successful operation to repair the dislocation fracture.
Good.
Well, that's very good news. I think you give Son a 1-game ban, you don't make it a 3. And everyone goes away.
I'm fine with that. I think the argument, if you're going to try to get it rescinded, is that it was initially shown yellow and then up to red, and you can argue that.
They kind of rewrote that, whereas, he didn't actually show the yellow. He just kind of pulled it out and then decided to pull the red. I don't know exactly what the truth is.
Yeah, and you don't know how the referee is going to defend it or write it up in a report. So it's tricky. I don't think it deserves more than a game.
And I think nobody is upset with that. In the end of the day, even if I think they took the red card away, I don't think Everton fans would be too upset because they saw the clear remorse in Son. He wasn't naughty or anything like that. It was just a freak accident. What more can you say about it?
It was a physical game, and there were times that Son got taken down, and I think one where there probably should have been a penalty in his favor. But that's beside the point. We can get into VAR.
Oh, we're about
we
to.
Won.
It's coming.
But it's something where in this situation, I think if you're going to argue against it, it could be that there was a lot of physical play against Son, and he got sloppy. And as a result of that, even though he was obviously quite concerned with the health of the player, but at the same time, I can see where it doesn't get rescinded.
Alex Krupp on Twitter asks, he says, Son originally had a yellow for the tackle, changed to a red after the ref saw the extent of the injury. If it wasn't originally excessive force, is that enough to flip a card from yellow to red? And also Lester won again.
I mean, it can. I don't think it's a great look when you up the card because of the injury. I mean,
I don't think there's any protocol for that, really.
Yeah, there's not really a protocol either way. I mean, you can change your mind before the play restarts and say that, hey, I didn't have the best angle of it. My AR and my fourth official gave me more information. I'm changing it from a yellow to a red. There's ways to justify it, and it can absolutely be justified. I think the other thing that people need to understand about these types of situations is you go in for the tackle, you don't have to make contact to get a red card. You can go in studs up in a reckless way in any kind of tackle and miss completely, but still be red carded.
Fair.
That can happen too. I think we've seen that type of situation where you take a swing at somebody just because you missed and have bad aim doesn't mean you get off the hook. So it's not just about the contact that gets the red. It's not just because there's not the same type of contact that gets the red. It's a complicated one. I would lean to, could I see it get rescinded? Sure. But I would lean to probably, like Saqib said, keeping it at one game, not a multi-game ban. And I think everybody's okay with that. And you move on. It feels right.
Mm-hmm. I tell you who's not getting a one-game ban. Anyone who buys one of these fantastic Soccer Down Here
That's nice.
Holding Midfielder Society scarves.
That's good work.
That I am wearing right now. I wore this past weekend to my son's soccer games, and people were wondering, where can I get one of these fine scarves?
Nick, where can I get one of these fine scarves?
Well, you can come up here to the greatest establishment in all of mankind for watching sports. And that's
we're
Brewhouse
about
Cafe.
to watch Lanús and Huracan and 39-year-old Pepe Sand for Lanús.
It's happening.
39-year-old Jose Sand, who has played for, I believe, 48 different clubs in his career.
48. We've charted it.
And he has 2 caps for Argentina. But he is still scoring goals, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to watch him score goals for Lanús.
And they have about 6,000 TVs up here. And you can come up and you can hang out with us, and you can get one of these fine scarves. I know a lot of you out there are scarf collectors, you scarf junkies. I see you out there on social media.
Cold, it'll keep you warm.
I will be wearing the scarf on a Friday night.
When I venture to the motherland, I will be taking this scarf with me and representing in front of fine historical architecture.
I will be wearing the scarf Friday night in Brookhaven for the SAA semifinals with Oglethorpe and Barry in the nightcap, Millsaps and Center in the early games. It's going to get cold Friday night, but there will be people
at the Brewhouse for that game.
Well, there will be people Friday night wearing that scarf up here for the Asado Argentino that is going on, and it's a benefit for soccer in the streets. It's $35 for a asado plate. You're going to get the traditional Argentine barbecue, the asado.
Yeah. Okay. So give me what is the asado plate? Give me the asado plate.
Oh, the last time we did it, just amazing Argentine style skirt steak. 2 or 3 different kinds of sausages. Amazing.
The morcilla, the blood sausage is part of it. And it's so good.
Just gorgeous chicken thighs or chicken wings. Not sure which one we're going to be doing, but it's going to be delicious. And the chimichurri sauce, you're just going to remember it.
Are you doing the sweetbreads?
I'm not 100% sure on the sweetbreads, but if we do, that's a treat you don't want to miss. It's like a cloud of meat, but not fat. It's
so what you're saying is an NSFW meal. It's not a meal that you want to talk to your coworkers about because it could lead you to making strange animal noises at work.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanksgiving is around the corner. A lot of you, unfortunately, know that your family's not going to throw down. It's not going to be that great,
Correct.
but you got to go. Do this.
There you
Get
go.
your fill.
There you go.
Also comes with a drink. And $10 of every ticket goes to Soccer in the Streets.
That is value.
So that's Friday night. That's where I'm coming after calling games, wearing the Soccer Down Here scarf.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I like
I've already requested a plate be held for me.
Okay. That should happen.
Yes.
That should happen.
And
I've already made this request.
To answer your question about Jose San,
Yes.
if you include his youth career at River Plate,
Yep.
this is his 3rd tour at Lanús.
Yep, he did play for River. He actually did play senior with River. Scored 8 goals.
8 goals and 42 appearances for River Plate. This is his 20th different time playing for somebody. 17 matches, 10 goals for Lanús this season.
Man, get your money.
He played mostly in Argentina, but he did journey to Tijuana. Scored 12 goals in Mexico with Xolos, and he played for Al Ain as well. Scored 31 goals there. Oh, and in Spain, he was with Deportivo La Coruña on loan from Al Ain. So
had a cup of coffee.
He's in Colombia with Deportivo Cali. But he's still scoring goals. And since he rejoined Lanús, 17 matches, 10 goals. The man is 39 years old. And he is still scoring goals. He scored against Boca Juniors here recently.
And can we give a shout out to Lanús for not having a sponsor on the front of the shirt? I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that. If you just put it on the back, that's fine. You can have it all day long. But I love not having the sponsor on the front.
But I'm okay with Defensa having 10 sponsors on the kit, too. Because, man, they got to pay the bills.
They got to pay the bills, baby. Keep the lights on. There you go. Brewhouse stands ready.
See?
Defensa Justicia. We can make that deal happen.
We can make this happen.
We can make it happen.
We'll dial that up.
We'll make some calls. Gustavo, help us out, man. Help us make some calls.
All right, we've put it off long enough. We have to get into VAR.
Okay.
Yay.
Trying to hold
because
on.
it's about like it feels like our shows on Mondays are generally racism in Italy and VAR in England.
Mondays with racism.
I mean that's where we're at these days. So 442 did a post. 5 things the Premier League should do to improve VAR. One of them is to get rid of it, and that's not happening.
That's not happening.
We're past that point.
No.
So, okay. We're past that point. It's not happening because nobody else is getting rid of it. But see, here's my thing. No, here's my thing. The Premier League is using VAR wrong. That's the number one thing that needs to be understood here. Because when I see people on TV networks that have 4 letters in them raging and yelling and all that about how you need to get rid of this and do that, the Premier League has bigger problems with VAR than Major League Soccer does, first off. And more problems than they do in Germany, and more problems than they do in Italy, even if 442 wants to mention that you had an Italian referee arguing with the video assistant referee. I mean, that probably happens in general.
We argue with everyone.
That's what I'm saying. That has nothing to do with it. So let's start with the 5 things that 442 would do to improve VAR. The first one has nothing to do with VAR, first off, and that's the other thing that people have to understand about this. Number 1 is change offside interventions to a naked eye policy. That's going to require changing the laws of the game. That's what has to happen with offside, because that's what VAR has done more than anything, is it is put a spotlight on issues in the laws of the game. And the laws of the game are going to have to be updated continually for the post-VAR world. Offside is one. Offside is not defined as a naked eye situation. It is not defined as any of that. It is defined very clearly in any body part that can play the ball legally. Being in an offside position, you're offside.
And yet they don't have a way to measure that properly.
They do. There is a margin for error, and it's a small one. In England, they do. In MLS, they don't. And you see differences in the way VAR gets involved in offside in the 2 leagues.
Well, obviously the controversial one was the Firmino.
The Hawkeye one, the frame rate of video footage that is used to analyze offside gives accuracy to within a 30-centimeter margin of error.
That's a lot.
It actually is. It says consequently, any
almost.
freeze frame that shows a player's foot, or more often their armpit, less than 30 centimeters offside is by definition invalid.
30 centimeters is a foot and 2 inches.
Yeah.
That's the width of a football, more or less, right?
So if you can't get it more exact than that, then you have to come back to the laws of the game to define it better. Because now you're past the point of writing it up that any body part, blah, blah, blah. You have to write it into the laws of the game how you determine if that body part is offside.
Now, are they using that Hawkeye technology in the Prem? I didn't.
Yes.
Okay. So
they're using technology to get it to that point in the Prem. I think, and I'll need to double check, they're using that in Germany and Italy. They used it at the Women's World Cup. They are not using that in Major League Soccer.
So a lot of the controversy on that goal was them moving the lines on the live broadcast. The lines are changing. They're being drawn. The vertical lines are moving around. and it confuses a lot of people as to what's going on. And of course, there's been a conspiracy theory that's come up from a couple of people. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. I don't.
Black
think,
helicopters chiming in.
Right.
That's right.
I think it's just poor, bordering on negligent implementation of the tools they have to do it. Because,
Yep.
I mean, Andy Gray, said it in the post game. I mean, you look at that play, you can tell by the naked eye that Tyrone Mings' knee is ahead of almost every bit of Firmino, and the bit that it's not ahead of would be his hand or his arm, and which doesn't count because that can't play the ball legally, therefore it's not offside. So the way they drew it, they moved the lines, it was kind of angled. I just think they implemented it very poorly, and I think my greater thing about VAR in England is that they're afraid, or there's a conscious effort to not go against the original call in the field as much as possible.
There's two things. There is that, and there is also the reluctance to go to the pitch side monitor.
What this tells me is, contradictory to what you said earlier, that VAR's not going anywhere, I think the refs in the Prem, the PGMOL, don't want VAR, and they're going out of their way to, as much as they can and get away with without being, broadly branded as such, to misuse it or not use it properly or not even use all the tools available to them, i.e. the pitch side monitor. I think they don't want it, and I think this is their way of showing that without...
So it's, it doesn't work. See, we're better.
I'm not making a hat out of tinfoil just yet.
I am.
But
I am.
there is an element to that because I think it was very clear that they didn't want it because of the way they talked about the situation with the the penalty kick infringement for goalkeepers. They said they would not be doing it in the same way that the Women's World Cup did it. They said they would not be doing it that way. So I have two issues. Well, I have more issues than two, but there are two very big ones. One, the laws of the game are going to have to be updated for the new world of VAR. I think it's going to have to be updated consistently. Yeah, we'll go with Huracan and Lanús instead of Central de Cordoba and Vélez. Sorry for the Vélez fans out there. If Howard's listening, he's going to be mad at me for saying that, but I think Huracan and Lanús is a better match. The monitors, they have to figure out how to do it. And one thing that 442 recommended that is interesting, and I don't exactly know how it would work, but I think there's a few different ways you could make it play out, is, okay, they don't want to have the referee go over and look at the pitch side monitor. They don't want that delay. They don't want the home fans to be able to influence it, any of that type of stuff. All right, then either the fourth official runs out there or the referee somehow carries an iPad with them, and it comes up to him straight away. And they have it right there in front of them, and they make the decision quickly. Mm-hmm. They're not, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is correct in what I've read. I believe it was 442 that had it. There has not been an instance this season of a referee going to look at the pitch side monitor. That has not happened yet. Which
just blows my mind.
That's insane.
Even in MLS, when it first started here, it was very controversial. But you'd see the referees from the get-go go and look at the monitor and make sure they're getting it right. Yeah. And isn't that the whole point? Well,
I think they overused it a little bit initially in MLS because it's like a new toy.
But it was a genuine effort to make it work. Whereas
this season as a whole,
that's the case in the Prem.
Yeah, this season as a whole, I think MLS did a fairly good job with VAR.
I think so.
Now, there are individual referees that are going to get things wrong. There's still a human element to it. VAR doesn't fix everything. You're going to have video assistant referees that get it wrong, like the one in San Jose where afterwards they were told that VAR should not have intervened. It wasn't clearly an obvious error. It wasn't clear and obvious. It shouldn't have been a situation where VAR gets involved. Mm-hmm. But when they did, they changed the decision that was made on the field. So that's two-pronged. The referee shouldn't have changed, but the VAR shouldn't have gotten involved. There's few incidents like that now, where it felt like last year in 18 there were more. The second half of 17 where it was first implemented, it was all over the place. So that's 2.5 years that it's gotten better. I think it's fair to say that the Premier League will get better with it as they get used to it and as you get more training and as you use it. Two other things 442 said really quick that I think are good points. Introduce a time limit on VAR calls, like basically set a limit of if you can't make a decision by 30 seconds or 60 seconds, then we move on. And I do agree with this one wholeheartedly. They want to use the high bar, and that's been the big conversation about VAR in England is we have a high bar for its involvement, a higher bar than anywhere else. Fine. Give me clear guidelines on it. Explain what that means, because it's way too vague.
Right. I mean, multiple games going on at the same time. You see an identical situation, seemingly, and one is VAR'd and the other is not VAR'd, and none of it makes sense.
And that happens with referees, though. I mean, that's been, you watch two games and referees call it differently, so
Sure.
you know that's the case, and you're dealing with humans. But when they get involved, I think we can have better guidelines for it because it's inconsistent. Go ahead.
What Jamie Carragher said after the Liverpool match, and he's a staunch supporter of VAR and has been, but he said now we're talking more about VAR than we are about goals and assists and beautiful passes and so on. And haven't we lost the initiative at this point if VAR is a central subject and not the beautiful game?
Yeah, but that's also not...
In the Prem.
Well, it's happened everywhere, and trust me, in other countries they talk about the game in the same way, and you've had VAR incidents. Yeah, you have them in every league because you have referee incidents in every league, and referees get talked about. They were before. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times was the whole day spent talking about the referee in a United City match or Arsenal-Chelsea match or whatever? Like, it's happened before. It's just a new way of talking about it. So I don't buy that. I think one element that Craig Burley brought up on ESPN that I've been a fan of that I don't think anyone is doing consistently yet or doing it in the right way. If you have the centralized location for VAR, and MLS does not, other leagues do, I think the next step is for the centralized location to make the decisions and move on, and that's it. It's quick, it's done, it's decisive. There's no pitch side monitor involvement. There's no running around arguing about it involvement. It is the higher power basically says, no, that's what happened, or you're right, we're not intervening, whatever. Burley says that you shouldn't have the centralized location. They shouldn't get involved. The Premier League is kind of doing that to a degree without the referees going to the pitch side monitor, but I don't think they're necessarily saying that's the way they're doing it. I think it cleans it up. I think it makes it simpler. And, is it going to have a new person for you to yell at? Yes. You're going to yell at whoever's in the VAR room. Yeah, you're going to yell at that when you don't get the call you want. But I think it makes the process more efficient. Yeah, I think it takes the pressure off the referee. I think the referee then can make the decision knowing that they've got backup. And they don't have to then go look at a bunch of stuff and then judge themselves on if they got it right or wrong. Somebody else is going to say yes or no. Done. We move on. It's tough. I mean, I think we're seeing the way fans react to it is now it went from a point of early on, we don't want VAR, we don't want to re-referee games. But then when a call happens and for your team that you don't but now you have VAR, why aren't you correcting everything?
Well, people don't want to be wrong. And they don't want their teams to be wronged. So when it comes to your team being wronged, oh my God, I love VAR. VAR's the greatest thing in the universe. But look, you can't go back and take VAR out of the game. We just can't.
I just don't think it's happening.
Saqib says yes, you can.
I mean, you can, but it's not happening.
He said, but I think, look, especially in Serie A where we had issues with referees being bought and paid for, VAR is one of the
good point.
few opportunities we have where everyone can see clearly, and there are federation eyeballs with what's going on the pitch. And if you want to keep everything on the up and up in this world of money that we're living in with world football, I'm okay with VAR. And I know that is the Looney Tunes perspective.
I'm okay with it. I'm Looney Tunes. It's all good.
You say that.
I still want it to be better. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, you say that, but everyone can see everything clearly anyways. Because, the fans watching at home or at the Brewhouse can see
we
it.
get it. And how much debate is going on about every decision.
But okay, fans can see what's happening in the replays. In some stadiums they show it, and some they don't. Some they don't have the capacity. But certainly at home and after the fact, we can see what actually happened and what transpired. And yet there's still so much debate. And sometimes it's just sour grapes, and but sometimes there is some genuine debate about VAR got it wrong. How could this be?
But a lot of times, I think when that comes up, they don't understand how VAR works, because there are a lot of times it comes up and it's like that's not a situation VAR is supposed to get involved in. You don't want them getting involved in that, because then we're re-refereeing every single thing.
That's totally true. I mean, after the game, Klopp made a good point. Well, a point. You decide if it's good or not. He said they were kind of laughing about it in the interview when they asked him the question, and he said, "I don't think it's funny." I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "I don't think it's funny because we won the game, and it's not about this game, but managers have their jobs on the line, their livelihoods on the line, and one of these days, a VAR decision that no one understands could cost somebody their job. It could, and in the Prem, where the stakes are higher, I mean, finishing, let alone the league title being decided by a crazy VAR call or points." If the league is decided by 2 points this year or 1 point.
But here's the thing. How many calls has VAR gotten wrong, really?
I don't know.
I don't think there's one.
I can definitely, without even looking at the numbers, agree that the overwhelming majority of calls they've gotten right. But then you have to ask yourself, how many calls has VAR missed? How many times has VAR not been used when it could have? And since there's no clear guidelines that make sense and is subjective to another human, one versus another, and we go back to that scenario, well, so-and-so got VAR'd in this game, but the exact same scenario didn't get VAR'd in another game.
See, but I don't buy that because of the differences in referees, because they're not all the same. Well, and that's where I keep coming back to with this is you're getting more calls right than you were before. I think that's a fair statement in the VAR world, is more calls are correct than they were before. You're not making more calls wrong.
It's at the cost of enjoying the game and the joy of the game so far. So in the Prem so far.
Did England fans enjoy Diego Maradona punching the ball in the back of the net? Because that's not happening with VAR.
Right.
It's a shame.
No,
it's such a shame. It's a crying shame.
Or in the 2006 World Cup, when a particular France player decides to throw himself down and France gets a penalty early on in the game.
That sounds a little biased.
I'm just saying. And then when we saw a review over and over again, he wasn't touched. He wasn't touched at all. Maybe, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a way to take this instant replay thing that everyone around the world was seeing, billions of people seeing this French player
they used
throw
it later in
himself
the
down
match
to the ground. I'm just saying that it would have been nice to have a way to reach that referee and say, hey, that guy was diving.
Later in the match, they did. It was the first case of VAR. The fourth official was the video assistant referee and saw the headbutt on the big screen.
I almost punched my television thoroughly when the announcers were like, well, we don't know. Can he go to the fourth official? If they missed it, it's going to stand. And I'm just saying, in this world, it's okay to get things right. There's too much money on the line.
I'd rather have a coach lose their job because VAR got something right than a coach lose their job because something didn't happen.
Right.
Unless it's Mourinho, I don't like any coaches losing their job.
Now, let me be clear, and when I say like right and wrong, like right and wrong, I'm going by the laws of the game. And I'm going by what the referees are calling the games by. There is a very valid conversation that FIFA and IFAB and leagues and referees need to have about offside. It has to happen. Offside has to be looked at differently because it is way too difficult now in the VAR world where you're measuring armpits. And was it really his armpit or was it his shirt billowing away from his armpit? What is it? Those types of things, that's not what I want to see with VAR.
But I think that gets eliminated when you have the centralized
system. But I still think you need to redefine the offside law a little bit about if it is... I don't know how you want to do it. If it's the daylight thing that you used to go by when you were just using the naked eye.
I'll take your centralized system idea one step further.
Okay.
And I think this could be beneficial. At the beginning of each season or section of the season... maybe between international breaks if you need some rotation, announce a VAR team. this is the team of 4 referees that are going to be sitting in the studio in London watching everything. And at least that way you can assure a level of consistency, because theoretically the same person is going to call 2 seemingly identical situations the same way.
Yep. I want the VAR officials to be anonymous.
And this is from a different perspective.
To be anonymous. I don't want them to
I like the consistency of them, but Nick has a point.
I don't want anyone doxing the VAR officials. I don't want anyone.
But we're in that situation
them.
anyways. I mean, look, with the crazy calls that happened before VAR, with the Howard Webb and all these high-profile referees, they were at risk of that happening anyways. At least with this way, you give the fans some belief that, hey, at least the calls are going to be consistent.
Okay, then here's the trade-off. If we're going to say who the VARs are and it's going to be the same group that's going to do it for a certain period of time, can we get them extra security? Can that be part of the deal?
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Whether they want to spring for that or not, I don't know how tight they are. But
if I'm the referee union, that's what I'm arguing for.
Yep.
All right, you can put my name out there like that? All right, then cool. I need a unmarked car outside.
Yes. I need to be able to exit said facility.
Yes.
But again, I mean, is it any more at risk than the referee for United Liverpool in any given match?
It's true.
We know who it's going to be.
Yeah, but I think when it's almost like the same thing with politics. Is that when you get these officials out from the public spotlight, when you get them away from the opportunities of being influenced by a crowd, and you put them in a room and say, okay, official who has decades of experience, is this offside? Is it not? Is this a foul? Is it not? And they can look at it and cleanly say, yep, that's a foul. That is not.
I understand the security concerns, but if it's secret ref that decides,
designated survivor,
it just kills all the credibility instantly for me. I mean, if it just gives everyone another reason to be like, well, this has to be BS because
I get it. Look, and I think that's what makes all of this so wonderful is that we have 2 completely opposing views on how this needs to work. Me, I want a secret cabal of officials. But MI7 of
we both believe it needs to get better, and I think that's a universal agreement.
I really want the laws of the game to continually be cleaned up with more things that come to light because of VAR, and I want the VAR to be more consistent.
Well, to the point of the laws, one law that has changed, I think, with respect to VAR is the handball rule. They've made it more black and white, so to speak.
In some ways, they screwed it up, though.
No, I agree, which is the point I'm getting at is I think they made that rule change in light of, VAR, and because obviously the timing is there. But,
maybe.
They made it such that if it touches the hand, it's a handball, and then they decided to add the clause about if it's over the shoulder, and I don't even know
the natural position.
Or Dele Alli with his defensive hand of God.
Well, there's a couple different elements of it, and one thing that commentators are just consistently screwing up, and I really hope they get it right eventually. There is a difference between attacking players and defensive players now in the handball rule in the law. It is if there is a accidental handling that occurs from an attacking player when a goal is scored, doesn't matter, accidental, intentional, whatever, goal ain't standing. Done. Defensively, it is about body position. It's about the silhouette, the natural silhouette. They don't want defenders to put their arms behind the back. And if I hear another announcer say that, I'm going to throw something at the TV because that's the line everybody wants to pull out. And they've specifically said they don't want that. If your arms are by your sides and the ball hits your arm, it's not supposed to be a handball now.
Well, right. That I don't think was called a handball anyways. Very rarely.
It was incorrectly. I think they cleaned it up a little bit, but they also took intent out in the way that they defined it.
But the issue is, I mean, you're absolutely right about those distinctions, but then the issue is that you're hearing now from commentators and so on, is, well, it's unfairly against an attacking player. The Sadio Mane goal, God, he's involved in every controversy about VAR and all the rules.
Look at that.
They really don't like it.
Right.
But, the goal, I guess it was in the United game, I don't remember anymore, where he just had the beautiful touch and it barely nicked his hand, and then he went around the player and just, it was a great goal, which would have stood with the old rules, theoretically. if the defender has the exact same accidental thing,
Right.
they're not calling a penalty, yet they're taking away a goal, and
Right.
that seems unfair.
I think it is. I think they tried to make it more black and white so everybody understood it, but they actually made the law worse. And I think it's something that they're going to have to figure out. I think referees should have discretion on handball.
All of you attacking-minded people are looking at this from the same way. Why should this beautiful goal be negated because an attacking player accidentally handled the ball when the defensive player... No. Look. The defensive players...
It's the Italian speaking.
They get butchered. They take away any element of physicality now for the defenders now, right? Anything at all. Oh, this is a penalty. We're going to go to VAR. Oh, he touched him. He breathed on him. Why is this man on the ground? It looks like he's been shot 7 times. Yes, penalty. There's so many rules set up for a defender. If Mane accidentally, wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Oh, come on.
taps the ball with his hand, we know that if a ball falls just right, it can allow you to put an electric goal in front
He
of
had
in
to
front of all
take
the
2
fans.
more touches.
I'm just saying. I'm saying the smallest touch can alter that. So if by all means take the goal away. However, let defenders do their job, and I don't want attacking players who are very clever accidentally wink wink nudge nudge knocking the ball up into a defender's hand when he's just trying to achieve position. That's all I'm saying.
That's
Help
just
the
good
defenders
skill
out.
as far as I'm concerned.
Good skill.
If you're able to hit a 4
skill.
square inch space, on a dime in the heat of the moment,
But
I
see,
think
those
that's
are
pretty
the
good.
things that I feel like the laws of the game have made it more complicated on those now than it used to be. It used to be discretion. You'd look at it and say, it's like 3 feet away. The guy chipped it right into his arm. There's nothing the defender could do. All right, we're not calling that. But now, technically, that's out of it. I think some referees still call it that way.
Yeah.
But technically, that's out of it. If a guy is running and his arms are running and they're in motion and his arm is out,
Right.
and I chip the ball into that defender's arm that's out, that's supposed to be a handball.
Well,
And it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. But, yeah.
I don't know if y'all touched on this. I forget how the timing was, but the was the Galaxy LAFC game.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of the LAFC Seattle one that had a couple
LAFC.
situations?
That was
Yeah.
before after the last show, right? So you hadn't had
Yeah.
a chance. I mean they're. I didn't know this, but I found out that they're not on the same handball rules as the rest of
No,
the world.
they're not.
And fine, once the rules are defined, what can you say?
Yeah.
But I mean, LAFC had some claims there.
There's one that I
would
thought
be
they really
handballs
did.
in the rest of the world.
There's one that I thought they did. There's one that I think probably would have been under the new laws of the game. The last one where Kim Keehe's arms extended kind of backwards, it's awkward for him. There's zero intent to it. I think technically by the laws that are currently being operated in MLS, it's the right call. Under the new laws of the game, I think you're not allowed to really use that discretion, and his arm is away from his body outside of the natural silhouette, and it would be called.
Let's remember the conversation from the Matt Geiger interview, right? Remember when Matt Geiger had that whole piece?
Oh, Mark Geiger.
Mark
Yeah.
Geiger, excuse me. Mark Geiger.
Matt, his evil brother.
Matt Geiger. Yeah, sorry. I went Charlotte Hornets, Matt Geiger. 76ers, often injured Matt Geiger.
Oy.
Yeah, Mark Geiger did the interview, and he and they were talking about what his pregame is outside of him vomiting, which is where he
There's
talks
that.
about these particular players like to go to ground, keep
Yep.
an eye out for that. And I think the LAFC had the patron saint of diving up in their locker room. And the refs finally said, okay, these guys we've given them a significant amount of leeway on this. However, in this do or die game, please watch them like hawks. And we're
That's
gonna be
Marufo, though.
We're going to be very careful on what we call it, which is exactly why he was the perfect official
That's
for that
Jair
game.
Marufo.
And-
That's how he calls the game.
and what happens whenever you make a team like LAFC, that's the patron saint of diving, play?
There's the patron saint of crying that comes
yeah,
out next.
the patron saint of crying, and then your season where you decide to dodge national team duty to pad your stats somehow goes into the toilet. So, I'm just saying, facts is facts, bro.
Wow,
but
Nick.
at me, but I'm just saying.
In
You made him play a
Vela's
real game.
defense, and I know this won't get me any popularity points, he's quote unquote dodged the national team for a decade. At least it seems
Don't
like.
ruin a
Played
good
at the last
story with
World Cup,
facts,
didn't he?
Akib. Don't ruin a good story with facts.
All the other parts are true, but Vela won today the MLS MVP award.
He
and
should
there's
have.
a lot of
He should
there's
have,
a
yeah.
lot of
He
salt
should have.
in the air.
He should have.
I don't see any reasonable argument against
No,
it.
there's-
other than-
I did laugh though at the tweet from the league about like too much swagger or something with him
Yeah.
carrying the golden boot and the MVP trophy and not carrying the MLS All-Star Game MVP trophy or the MLS Cup MVP trophy or the MLS Cup.
And let's talk about that tifo. The tifo, the Indiana Jones tifo.
That
where
was
he's
cool.
holding supportership. No. But keep in mind, in the movie,
Yep.
right, Indiana Jones does not get to keep the treasure in that particular scene.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
So they jinxed
He-
themselves.
Yeah, he takes the sandbag.
what you're saying?
Right? And
Yeah, they
then
jinx themselves with their tifo.
Yeah, the boulder comes down and he's running, and then what happens is he runs into. Oh my God! If you have not watched Raiders of the Lost
Yeah, I
Ark,
think
by this
decades
point-
away. Spoilers don't count.
No. And the evil version of Indiana Jones is waiting on him, and ends up taking the idol.
Okay, so I'm going to pull a segue here. In that match, in the 32-52, where they were throwing things on the field and completely out of hand, we've had this discussion about them before. This stuff has to stop.
Yep.
You don't want it to escalate like we saw in Germany this weekend. And if you didn't see the Berlin derby, and the goalkeeper for Union Berlin having to hold fans back from
Yep.
attacking the Hertha Berlin fans.
Yeah. Classy.
When that's not what I'm saying LAFC fans do. I'm saying when that becomes accepted and that becomes normal, that we're going to throw things on the field when we don't like our call. And, oh, yeah, now we're going to throw things at the opposing team who is celebrating winning a championship on our field. We're going to throw things from the upper deck at them. It can escalate if these things are not stamped out immediately. And I have not heard one word about anything resulting from a video where you see a full, it looked like a bottle, it looked like a plastic bottle. It wasn't just a cup flying down with beer that magically stayed in the cup flying from that far away. That, was it Rui Diaz who punted it out of the air? It was or Lodero. It was a Seattle player who kicked it out of the air and everything goes splash and everybody's, like, that's not okay. Because next time you're throwing a battery, next time you're throwing whatever you can throw that can injure somebody.
I agree with everything you said, but I get it from the LAFC fans' perspective. It becomes a mob mentality. We've seen it here with the Braves. We see it in Philly all the time because they suck. They threw batteries at Santa Claus. I'm sorry.
I think they booed
done.
Santa Claus.
Had it coming.
Let's
Santa
not-
had it coming.
No, they
let's
threw
not say
batteries.
did they throw batteries?
They did.
That's
It's well
unfounded
documented.
allegations.
I'm going to find it.
I'm going to have to check this
I
out. I
will
know they
find these
booed Santa
allegations.
Claus.
I will found them. Just
They throw snowballs at him.
from I'm not trying to rationalize it, but from their perspective, they feel like they're literally being robbed because of
No, I get it. I understand that.
What even to me watching the game, I was like, wow, that has to be a penalty for the handball for one of the 2 or 3 incidents that were just seemed blatant to me as a neutral. I'm sure to them it must have been 10 times more than that.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're being robbed the game by.
If that
outside
was the
forces.
first time, and if it was just like
Touche.
the Braves fans who did it during the infield fly rule incident, which was stupid when they did it because it got way out of hand.
That was insane.
LAFC did it last year in the playoffs, and the game actually got stopped by Mark Geiger. He said, I'm not having it. We're pulling the players off the field because they were throwing things at Nick Raimondo and at RSL's goal.
I do remember that.
Yeah, it's when it keeps happening and it's like, oh, okay, they're passionate. Yeah, it's all right. Okay, yeah, well, don't do that. That's not right.
I will remind it happened for Atlanta United against
100%.
Toronto last time.
And
Not
every
this
time it's happened there, I've said that it's stupid and people should be banned. But now when you've had it happen with LAFC fans multiple times in the playoffs, like more things have to happen here.
I think it's true. I think we can all agree the best way to handle it is the way Jovinko did in Atlanta. You pick up the beer and you drink it.
It's hilarious.
And that's the way to diffuse it.
Yeah, it is. But sometimes it doesn't get diffused. And then you get these situations like we saw in Germany where you have fans marching onto the field wanting to attack other fans. Like, luckily, in some ways, we don't have as much traveling support because the country's so freaking big. So you don't have these situations very often. But we've seen fights with Galaxy fans and LAFC fans. We've seen it with New York City and Red Bulls fans throwing, like, plastic garbage cans at one another, like chaos. We've seen it with Orlando and Atlanta fans.
Yep.
We've seen these things happen. It's it's a slippery slope when it's just, kind of brushed to the side, because then you get into a situation that you can't avoid. And then, like we've talked about all night with fans feeling empowered to do bad things, it becomes okay for them to do that in the name of passion or in the name of whatever they want to put it in, and it gets out of hand.
Do we know if there's been any bans or suspensions for supporters that were caught on film doing that? I mean, that happens with racism in England, for example. Why not with
I have not heard
things
anything in LA yet. I think LAFC initially said that they would be checking and they would be working towards it, and I haven't heard anything. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I don't think anything publicly has been said. I know in the Orlando situation here, and this was more about destruction of property at Bobby Dodd, there was video, there were people identified, there were people arrested. There were people specifically banned. I know there are people who get banned from different stadiums around the league. Like, that happens. So, there's definitely things happening to it. I do think that it would be a smart move for the league to be out in front and make sure that people understand it. You're going to get banned. You're going to get arrested. You're going to get whatever, and be strong on it. Like, this is different than some of the other stuff that happened this year in MLS with fans. This is something that nobody can argue is okay. So I'm hoping that this gets dealt with. I don't ever want to see a situation like we saw in Germany where you have players having to get involved in fan arguments.
Which is, I mean, first of all, if you're a supporter or a fan and you decide to jump on the field, I am of the firm belief that
all I have to say is 2 words: Mike Curtis.
Enjoy. If you want to go for that, and you get deboed on global television,
that's a you problem.
That's a whole bunch of you that's responsible for that. And I get it. You go to a game and you're involved and you're excited and you're fired up, and then something happens and the fortunes turn, and then everything goes sideways, and you are just chock full of Jack Daniels and whatever else.
Liquid courage?
Not even liquid courage, liquid death wish. And then you decide to start chucking beers, right? You can end up like the person who sits generally below where I sit below you guys in the radio booth, Jason. Mm-hmm. And there was somebody to the right of me who, in celebration, right, in the Philly game, chucked their beer and ended up pelting someone in the back of the head. Right? Because one, you moron who is listening and probably knows who you are, didn't have the arm strength to make it to the field, so work on that. And then 2, you hit some poor girl, not even a lady, a girl, as a younger girl, in the back of the head. Mm-hmm. So, if you do dumb things like that, you deserve to lose your season tickets. You deserve to get kicked out of the stadium. I have no sympathy for you. And if you were absolutely dumb enough to run on the field and some former linebacker decides to have his heyday memory-making session by plowing you into the turf, I am 1,000% okay with that. Amen. But this has to stop, man. Yeah. This is absolute idiocy.
It's just something I hope MLS can stay on top of and not let it get to that point. I just worry that more and more you see idiots watch other idiots and say, hey, I can be a bigger idiot than I already am. I'm going to go be like that moron.
Right, but it's a badge of honor. Like I'm an ultra. I will wear a bandana over my face to go to a game. What? An ultra for what? Like, an ultra for what? Like, dude, you're doing Excel spreadsheets on Monday morning. Stop pretending you're an ultra, okay? You get an hour for lunch.
Do real ultras know what Excel spreadsheets are?
Yes, yeah. American real ultras. Look, I'm sure there's some of you guys who are real bad, and amen to you if that's the life you want to lead. But I'm talking about in the biker world, they call it the 1%ers, right?
Right.
The 99% of bikers are great, wonderful people, and there's the 1%ers you absolutely, under no circumstances, want to mess with. I believe that same ratio exists with American soccer fans.
I think that's a safe bet.
But there are, like, out of that 99%, I'm going to say there's about 3 or 4 of that you can also lop off who are the wannabe ultras.
Yes.
Who are like, okay, guys, I just dropped the kids off at soccer practice. I'm going to go to the game now, and we're going to do some Jello shots, and I'm going to put my bandana on, and I'm going to look really tough, guys, okay? Really tough. But, hey, can we make sure that my OneNote is completely updated for that Monday meeting? Thanks, Jan. Okay, you guys got to straighten it out. Stop trying to be like people in Europe and embrace the fact that you can go to a safe soccer stadium and enjoy a game. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's kind of nice.
It's nice. It's really nice to be able to do that. Embrace the fact that it's not like what we saw with Defensa y Justicia, where there's. Yeah, sorry, I had to put my food in. I had to get my food in. I had to get my food in. Look, I'm putting my food in.
Making orders and.
Yep.
He's about to put the bandana over his face and be an ultra as he walks out.
Look, all I'm saying.
I'm going to be a food ultra and go ahead and say, yes, I want to order my salad, please.
Yes, there we go. And look,
I respect the listeners, and I will wait till I'm finished before I order.
I'm sorry, things have to happen. Okay, I'm talking to people right now who play costume dress up as ultras, not the real ones.
You can interrupt that.
Okay?
That's okay.
And I will break up the momentum on that bad boy because it's hilarious. You talk to people like, I want the game like it's in Europe and they have the flares everywhere. No, because it goes too far. And there's a video that was on the web for a long time that I think YouTube has taken down like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Of Polish ultras at a indoor youth soccer game.
Oh, no.
It's played. It's like a futsal game, right? It's not even like turf. So it's like inside a basketball gym. They occupy the entire upper level and they light off flares indoors.
It's a good idea.
They throw toilet paper, flammable by the way,
Yeah.
toward these 8-year-old
Single ply.
kids. Yeah, single ply toilet paper toward these 8-year-old kids on the court who have to stop the game and start cleaning it up. Is that what you want here stateside?
No, I don't want to see that.
Where you're doing this and scaring the hell out of 8-year-olds? No, you don't want that. Do you want to go to Defensa y Justicia where you have like 3 layers of razor wire, armed, fully body armored police officers who have to walk the refs out? No.
Yeah, but you know that there are folks who want to sit there and go, yeah, I'll go there and I'll do that.
I'll go there until you wear the wrong colors and you get drop kicked on your way into the stadium.
All the way down the concrete steps.
All the way down the concrete steps. And so I know there are a lot of people who say they want that extreme environment. You want that extreme environment.
Don't want that.
You don't want it.
You don't. You really don't. All right, let's get into Mondays with Reddit.
Mondays with Reddit.
That'll get us to everything else that we haven't talked about because we've been on lots of soapboxes tonight.
And,
okay.
We do have Twitters, by the way.
Ooh, we have Twitters.
Okay. Then let's run through Mondays with Reddit real
Mondays
quick.
with Reddit.
The managerial carousel just completely spinning out of control at the moment. Bayern Munich.
Yep.
I've heard of them.
Don't have a manager. Bayern Munich was spanked on the weekend, 5-1. The last time they lost that badly was 2009. Guess who was in charge that time?
I know the answer.
I think I know the answer on that one.
Jurgen Klinsmann. See ya.
Sakib
is out. We talked about Jurgen Klinsmann. Sakib is leaving. 5-1 Wolfsburg. Yes. See?
Look at that.
Yep.
Sakib,
there it is.
That's what happens when you are the purveyor of exceptional fine foods and fantastic soccer environments. There we go.
So Klinsmann was fired that time. Niko Kovac fired this time. Who's next? Is it Mourinho? Is it
No.
Ten Hag?
I think Ten Hag.
Is it Allegri?
No.
If it's Mourinho, Bayern Munich has sold its soul.
No doubt.
No, but I think it's the second most difficult job in world football outside of Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid and Bayern because not only do you have to play a certain way to win, but your results have to be absolutely pristine in the process.
Yeah.
Like there's no margin for error with them, and
Nope.
they will absolutely throw you out. I think you had to make the move. You know, it just seemed that Kovac was a little bit out of his depth there, and
David Moyes is available, by the way.
oh, I'm sure
So
he
Sam
is.
Allardyce.
I'm
Well,
sure.
David
Big Sam
Moyes
is-
said that the vacant jobs in Scotland at Hearts and Hibs, they are of no interest to David Moyes.
Oh my goodness,
He is holding out
not at
for
all.
something. I don't know what. It's been a while.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm sure he's waiting on
that Man U paycheck, I'm probably sure is winding down.
That's
Gotta
right.
be at
Probably
some point.
is.
It feels like that was forever ago. You remember Guti, who played for Real Madrid?
Yeah.
He is in charge at Almeria in Spain now.
He
as
was
the new manager.
There were rumors that he was going to be one of the people who were going to be the organic hires. But I'm
As
just
I
saying.
look at the Huracan and
Oh, wait.
Lanús,
Don't tell me the 39-year-old man has been busted open.
somebody's been busted open, and it ain't pretty.
Uh-oh. I mean, I was watching the Superliga. It's not Pepe Sand. I was watching the Superliga this weekend, and like 20 minutes in, River Plate player busted open and his chin busted open as well. Like he had the double mummy wrap.
Only thing missing from that
and
dude was the bite from the drum, and he'd have had it made.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. 20 minutes into the game.
Is Peter Crouch managing Lanús?
No, Peter Crouch is not managing in Argentina. Peter Crouch should go play in Argentina, though. I would be down with this. I'd like to see it.
I don't want. He seems like he's too good of a soul to go and play.
That's true.
I don't think he's ready for for Thunderdome.
Yeah, it's a whole different life.
No.
PSG lost to Dijon.
Whoopsie.
The last place team in Ligue 1.
Hate to see it.
And laughter ensued.
Mauro Icardi said this. Not about that game, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
I want to achieve great things. That's why I came. Playing for a team like PSG is very important. It's one of the best teams in the world. It's a milestone in my career. I'll do everything I can to stay here.
Until.
Okay. Let me know how Wanda handles that, because Wanda has been wanting him to get back to Italy. There have been rumors that AC Milan could be, which hilarious. I laugh at that.
Okay, I might have missed something. I know there's been like absolute and utter chaos about Arsenal and Unai Emery and all the things going on.
Yes.
TalkSport, and this was a tweet, and TalkSport has had some people say some really dumb things on their airwaves before.
Fair.
I've had to point those out a couple times about, no, we're not going to try to pronounce people's names properly. We're going to say it the way we want because... This is the quote, and it... I don't know who it is. There's a debate about Dennis Bergkamp, like if he was good or not. The quote on the tweet, without listening to the crazy commentary, if Bergkamp was so good, why didn't Arsenal win the Champions League or back-to-back titles? Never scored more than 20 goals in a Premier League season. He was there for 10 years. I guess Martin Keown said something about Bergkamp being good, and TalkSport Drive had to say that no, Bergkamp wasn't that good. Cesc Fabregas chimed in. He said, "Is this guy serious? Lost the plot big time there. If you don't think Bergkamp was that good, then you don't understand the sport at all."
Says Fabregas.
It's just
if Bergkamp was so good, yeah. Oh my! When did this debate happen?
My next question is: at what time during the clock did this show up? Was this afternoon drive? And
I think so. If it's the show, I'm thinking it is.
You're hurt. It's like, okay, what do we do to get people to drive off the road during afternoon drive? Let's talk about Dennis Bergkamp.
Arsenal has went that far off the rails that now we're debating on if Dennis Bergkamp was good or not.
Arsene Wenger was average.
That's where Arsenal has turned into now.
But
it's mind blowing.
This is where I want to have Frank DeBoer on speed dial and be like, Frank, check this out.
Forward that to Frank DeBoer's Twitter account.
What's your immediate take on this, man? Give me your immediate, unvarnished hot take on this.
The dog.
Right. Here's a couple things we can tie a couple elements together. So, Spain, 1st to 13th in the table, separated by 5 points.
Sweet. Wow.
Barcelona, the rumors continue to fly, and River Plate's manager, Marcelo Gallardo, is getting mentioned a lot.
Yes, Jorge B. wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, a lot with Barca. This is what Valverde had to say at Barca the other day. When you lose, you always look at the coach. That is the case, and I assume it. The other day, Levante scored against us with their first shot. We controlled the game until we lost it. We were not good in attack, and we have to improve. Is he kind of throwing the players under the bus there a little bit?
Yeah.
Is he kind of saying, hey, I did my job?
I think so.
I think so. Like, hey, it wasn't my tactical plan that allowed them to score that quickly.
They only had one shot.
Yeah.
And you guys had shots, and you didn't score. Is he going to last?
No, he's not.
I mean, it's gotten to that point, hasn't it?
It has. And
even though they're not, like, stinking, they're not, like, completely smelling badly in public.
But would you rather be, you're average.
And he's not from within. If he was from within, then I think you get more of a leash.
Yeah, I agree.
He's looked at as a little bit of an outsider.
Yeah.
And we saw what Barcelona does to outsiders, which if you are Gallardo, you have to look at this and say, do I?
That's true.
There's your PSG variant.
Yeah, do I necessarily want that? Because if we all know, and I think is the universally beloved Tata Martino, he wasn't a terrible manager for them.
No.
and yet it is widely viewed his tenure there as a failure. And so, if you're Gallardo, you have to look at this and say, do I really want to go there and deal with being an outsider trying to fix these issues? And how deep do the issues go?
And how many more times are Premier League teams going to look at Ligue 1 for their managers?
Yeah.
All right. This is maybe the best Mondays with Reddit I've seen.
With Reddit.
Our boy Nico, on his way out of Bayern, he...
shots. Give me shots.
Well, this was before he got fired. This was the team talk going into the match where they got spanked 5-1 by Eintracht Frankfurt. This is what he said in his team talk, talking to Thiago. You shouldn't pretend so much.
Oh, yes.
And this is what he said to Sir Gnabry. You lose the ball too easily. And this is what he said to Kingsley Coman. Kingsley, you stand there while Thomas is fighting. Then to Jerome Boateng. You have to be smarter in those situations. You don't listen. We talk and train these plays, but then you don't do them during the game.
Oh, my.
And they lost 5-1.
How you doing?
Okay, yeah.
That's you're done. Bye.
You're
Bye.
done. You're out.
That's why you didn't even
You're
get to
out.
Monday.
See, and in that situation, I don't care if it's the players or the manager. The relationship between the two is fundamentally broken, especially if he's coming and dropping that kind of salt out there. So, in that situation, somebody's got to go. It's cheaper to fire the manager than it is to replace all the players. Mm-hmm. And, what you going to do? You got to get rid of him. The guy had to go. Sometimes managers, you can be a good manager and be in over your head. Sebastian Beccaceche, I think, is a fantastic manager because he led Defensa y Justicia to the second spot in Argentine Superliga. And that is a team that was comprised mainly of rented players. And
I might have found a better one, sorry.
And go ahead. Let's take some bubble gum.
I got two good ones, actually. So at Napoli, and you might have to explain this one to me, Nick. Aurelio De Laurentiis has placed Napoli in Retiro. After disappointing results. The team will go on a punitive training camp until Sunday and spend the entire week at the club's training complex. He's locked them in?
Yes.
He's organized a lock-in?
You're grounded.
I have told you guys from minute one
Oh
that
my God.
De Laurentiis is psychotic. I've told you guys this. He's as old school as it gets.
How are you locking these
he's
grown men
he's
in
grounded
the
his
training
team.
complex?
Grounded his team. He said, you guys are staying here at the facility. You're not leaving.
Oh, my
You're
God.
Not until results. Beatings will continue until results improve.
Oh, my God.
That's essentially, he's going full Captain Bligh on him. And Ancelotti's like, I don't think this is a great idea. I don't think this is good. Because, look, it's something where, it's not, this is an old school solution for
New school problem.
a new school problem, But I'm just
Unbelievable.
saying,
You're grounded.
I'm just saying I don't think this is remotely the right decision here. So De Laurentiis, I wish him the best in trying to institute this, but it's not good going into a January transfer window when an agent's going to look and say, "Do I really want my player to be grounded at the Napoli facilities?"
Which were built in like 1940 or something.
Exactly. Again, watch the Maradona documentary and you will see
It's the same.
It's the same.
It's what was it Camp Silver Lake in Friday the 13th?
Yes, I think
That's
so.
what that's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to finish with a quote from our good friend Fabio Capello, who is speaking to the media about situations.
Of course he is.
And then we'll finish up with anything we missed. Capello on Allegri. He said, he'd be a good fit at Bayern Munich, although I don't know how welcome Italians are in Germany after Ancelotti. Okay. England's exciting. There's the possibility of working well, and the Premier League is a championship that enriches you. If I was Allegri, I'd go to Manchester. Which that job's not open.
Yet.
I don't think he's terribly wrong, and I don't think meaning that Ancelotti is probably the most tactically flexible manager that Italy has produced to the global stage.
Yep.
And for him to not be completely embraced by the Bayern Munich faithful, I think is something where that's probably where Capello's coming from with that.
Yeah.
But at the same...
How the hell would Mourinho be embraced?
No, he wouldn't be.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be.
Nah.
Because, again, you have to win in a particular style when you're at Bayern. So, yeah.
And Mourinho's ain't it.
It ain't it. It ain't it. So anybody who gets on any sort of video and says, yeah, you don't have to have possession to play beautiful soccer. Yeah, okay, good luck to you. But I get what Capello's saying, but at the same time, I don't think Capello's 100% correct on it. I don't know if Manchester United would be the best solution for Allegri. I think he would do well there. I think Allegri would do far better at a place like Spurs, where you do have so many players who are going to be out of contract. You would have an opportunity to really build a team the way you want to do it.
That's a good point.
And you would be able to do so, with your own fingerprint on there, not necessarily with somebody else's. And the team would be built more, I think, walking in the way that Allegri would want to play based on his time at Milan and Juve than anything remotely resembling. Even if with Pogba on the field for Man U, I don't think the rest of the team is built the way that Allegri would want it to be.
Still going to take them more windows, too, to get to build anything, let alone what Allegri wants.
Exactly. You would keep Pogba, but nothing beyond that.
Right. All right, let's finish up with any tweets we might have missed.
All right, Nathan Pugh. For Nick, we'll go rapid fire. Can Atalanta and Italy as a whole tire out and ruin Man City enough to make them worse off going into next Sunday?
No, they have no remote concerns about continuing on. They're just trying to get out healthy.
Atalanta will be playing the youth team.
Yeah.
They just want to stay in the top four.
Exactly. That's and currently right now they're out of the top four. They're at 5, so they absolutely do not want to stay there. I think I agree with Jason.
Anything in Champions League.
You're playing the youth team and you're getting out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Jason from Jorge B. Your thoughts on the possibility of Juan Fair coming to MLS, possibly Miami?
Somebody's going to bring him, and I don't think he's going to go to Europe, so I think it's the best situation to come here and make stupid money, and I think River Plate will sell him because River Plate doesn't have a ton of money right now. So somebody will do it. My wild card is Chicago, because Chicago's come close before, like really close to getting him, even when they were morons about spending money. Now you've got an owner who has just dropped a lot of coin. You're going back to Soldier Field. You add a player like Quintero to a team and can actually play. You're going to have to add more pieces around him. But you get Quintero, and if you bring Nico Gaitan back, that's some nice building blocks. Chicago can be interesting at Soldier Field immediately.
Nick, can UEFA or FIFA get involved in the best options to eradicate racism from football? It's sad we're still talking about this.
With capital injection, if they send money to Serie A to do radical updates on the infrastructure of the stadium, that to be able to provide more security, to be able to install camera systems into the older stadiums, to find the people who are guilty of this buffoonery faster, that's the only way it's going to work. Outside of that, no.
Jason, River and Flamengo are apparently not playing the Copa in Chile.
Yeah, there's a meeting tomorrow with CONMEBOL and the two clubs involved. We know about the issues in Chile. It's not looking likely that match is going to be played there. It would appear to be that Asunción, Paraguay will be the host. It's the home of CONMEBOL. It's kind of between the two countries that are involved here. I think the other option from talking to our friend Howard Hamilton with Soccer Metrics was Bogota, but that's a long distance away from both fan bases. It's at altitude. It wouldn't make any sense. Asunción is where the Sudamericana final will be as well, so it makes total sense to do it that way. I think that's what they'll end up doing and announcing maybe as early as tomorrow.
We're caught up.
All right, so Champions League tomorrow, back in action. The sneaky good game for me tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock. Napoli, if they are allowed to come out and play by their owner, against Red Bull Salzburg.
Come out and play.
That should be a fun one. Chelsea and Ajax tomorrow at 3 o'clock as well. Dortmund and Inter tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So you can watch all of those on one of the 8,943 televisions at the Brewhouse Cafe. See? I counted during the last.
I agree with that number, sir. I agree with that.
I spun around and counted.
That's right.
More on Wednesday, and then obviously the big game of the weekend is Liverpool and Manchester City, which will be nutso up here.
Chelsea and Ajax tomorrow at 3.
Yep.
And
3 o'clock, you got multiple good games. I like the Napoli-Salzburg game. Chelsea-Ajax will be a fun one, and Dortmund and Inter will be a good one as well.
Yep.
I am looking 100% forward to Liverpool Man City. That's the game.
Oh, yeah.
That I'll give you the espresso and crumpets and haggis and.
No, it's now the show has turned into it's crumpets and espresso because you always get it wrong.
With a side of haggis?
No, that hasn't happened yet. Jarrett's got to figure out whatever Scottish element he's going to throw in because he hasn't done anything yet. Yes, I'm talking to you, Jarrett Smith.
Boom.
Mate was thrown in this past week.
That is true. That's
So Mate will likely make another appearance because there's a lot to talk about in Argentina.
Mate.
Can we just call it snack time?
No,
There's
it's
so
more
many
fun with like
wonderful-
things, and it's officially crumpets and espresso, but now we're into the parentheticals.
Okay. And
Your subtitles.
the subtitles.
Yeah,
Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying
that's
and Love the
next.
Bomb. Okay.
We'll get
All
there
right.
next.
Okay.
Right now, we're just still adding either brunch or
We're adding
breakfast.
to the
or,
menu.
That's why I don't know if haggis works. I mean, I don't eat haggis,
Kinda
so I
thick.
don't know where it fits. We need like whatever the Scottish breakfast item would be to throw in, and Jarrett's going to have to
Corned
figure
beef
that out
hash.
and actually record an update, Jarrett.
Hey, look, Jarrett.
Hey, I get called out in the submissions that people like send into the show, and I have to go in and creatively edit them.
Hey, look.
When the DJ comes out and plays.
I'm just saying.
You know, you start talking trash, then I have to drop the record scratch in, and I have to drop the presser pancakes in, and things have to be done.
Pancakes.
I had to drop the presser pancakes chant into Nick's segment.
Hey, look, we are Switzerland in this great between all the supporters groups. I am putting the plea out to all supporters groups. Watch the Diego Maradona documentary and get us the presser pancakes chant.
So they're on the flight back from Mexico after winning the World Cup and probably staying up all night drinking all kinds of obscene amounts of alcohol.
Yes.
They're on the plane flying back, chanting at the press who are like looking at them. the presser pancakes.
Presser pancakes.
Yes, and that's what we need. We need anytime certain elements of the media like to have conversations and troll our fan base, we need the presser pancakes. We need to have that chant dialed up. Just make something, guys. You're creative and invent something.
I mean, can you pick a different thing than a pancake, I guess?
No. I want
that's
that.
the
You want them to be
quote.
pancakes.
That's
okay.
That's the quote. It
That's
has
the
to
quote.
be.
Yeah.
It has to be
That's
presser.
You can come up with
T-Funk.
other lyrics to the song, but yes,
Yeah,
you have
you
to
can
have
invent.
the presser
Well,
pancakes.
if you watch the documentary, you will find there are many lyrics
lyrics.
available for your use.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
saying.
had to pick a very specific section to
That's
make it
right.
work in the
Yeah, just make that happen.
the podcast.
Let's make that happen.
There's
Boom.
that. So that will be coming out. We'll recap some Champions League for you. It'll preview everything on the weekend. That'll be coming out on Friday. And then we'll be back here next Monday to talk about all of the madness from Liverpool, Manchester City, Champions League, probably coaching carousels, probably VAR.
Yep.
Probably VAR from the Liverpool Manchester City game,
Mondays with racism.
and probably racism.
It's probably gonna happen. But hey, look, one thing. Can I say this really
Yes.
quick before we get look? Tomorrow's election day.
Go vote.
There's local. Yeah, go vote. And the way that you can, the best vote you can cast, I'm getting political for the one time in my life, is by coming up here to the Brewhouse next Monday and electing to purchase yourself one of these fine
Attaboy.
scarves for the Holding Midfielders Appreciation Society. For $20, you can get one of these scarves. Make the right vote and vote to come up here and elect to purchase one of these fine scarves.
It's a hell of a segue.
Unbelievable. I'm going to end it with the stat of the day, just
of the
because
day.
of that, because of how ridiculous that was. The stat of the day is that there's a team that has lost 6 of their first 11 league matches in a season for the first time in 78 years. Do you know who that team is?
Manchester United.
Nope. 6 of their first 11 league matches in a season for the first time in 78 years.
Why are you making me do this, Jason? Why are you making me do this? Why are you making me do this? That would be one AC Milan.
Yes, it would be. Sorry.
The team's a disaster.
Well, they already changed the manager once. Maybe they'll get it right.
There's talk that may happen again.
Oh, already? Well, they already had the hashtag
They-
out before he got in, but now is the hashtag out again?
They have to play Juve and Napoli coming up, so it could get even worse. They could drop from 11th
Oh, no.
down to the bottom 4. So
Is he going to get grounded?
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
Oh,
Pioli
no.
Pioli could be very very short term. There's talk. There's rumors. I'll put it out there. There's rumors.
All right, the food has arrived. That means we are done with the show.
Check.
So we will see y'all next Monday here at the Brewhouse. Coming out with us, we'll put you on a mic like we did to Saqib today. You can have your say, and we will agree or we will disagree, and we might throw crumpets. It could happen.
Yep.
Could happen.
It's happened from time to time. It really hasn't, but it might for the first time. We'll see what happens. Send us out, Nick.
Until next time, mucha euro, y'all.
All the lira.